get to choose what you're going to meditate on. Are you going to meditate on everything that brings you down, on the past that made you sick? Are you going to meditate on the future and have anxiety and not know what to do? Or will you meditate on the present moment? Will you meditate on the things that elevate your energy?
It was literally a flash like this. And then I felt everything changed. My world was expanded. I can't even explain it.
Tonight is all about Alice and Michael. Now, Michael and I have just recently got to know each other over the last couple of conversations, and I was really impressed when he came on as a viewer on one of our previous shows, which was Divine Intervention with Donna Butler. And you came in, gave some viewpoints, and this is how we find other talents, and this is how we hear other people have a gift to give. I listened into your contribution, Michael, and we were blown away. The audience was blown away and said, we got to have him back on the show as a guest. And now, lo and behold, you and your wife, your lovely wife, are here today, and you are I would say concussion catalyst. You are, I'd rather than me go through your bio. I really want to just take the time for you to introduce who you are.
Obviously, I'm Alice. This is Michael. And where are we? We're in Yuma, Arizona. And we have been working together now going on possibly about 9 years straight, for sure, 8 years. And we're just simple people who have been through a very dark past and have been able to heal through our journey through different modalities. So I can explain mine. Michael, introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there.
My name is Michael, and I'm honored to be here. And really, this is a celebration because this is a party. When you see souls coming together, this is what we live for, because we were alone before. And seeing all this come together, it's just such a beautiful deliciousness. So it's an honor to be here. A little bit about my story. Do you want me to go ahead and start?
Go ahead.
The simple gist of it is that I'm living proof that we are so powerful that we don't even realize it, because I destroyed my life. I literally had several near-death experiences. I was incarcerated most of my life. I fought everything and everyone. I never surrendered. I never gave up. I was involved in gangs, drugs, and violence, and that was my calling at that time. My dream was to go out in a blaze of glory, so to speak, and really suicidal, depressed, all of that stuff that I needed to shatter the illusion of separation, because I found myself in prison.
What we dedicate ourselves to is bringing meditation to those that are finding a way of healing. It's a tool. It's not the only tool that we use, but we tend to demystify what it is, what meditation is. So Michael, again, going back to his story, was able to, I don't want to give it away, so go.
Well, I was able to free my consciousness, and I was fighting everyone and everything, but I didn't realize I was fighting myself. So when I was able to fight others, it was justified. But when I was in prison, I had to face myself. And I realized that all of these things that I was holding people, susceptible to blame, to criticism, to judgment, I really was destroying myself, because I studied the outside so much because I wanted to become the greatest criminal. And when I was studying so much, I would find things out that I would have more of an edge or more smart. As we can see, we're in the leading edge of information. So it doesn't matter how much information we have. I was missing the greatest key. And the greatest key was knowledge of self, awareness of self. And then when I realized that I was the problem, I realized that I had to figure out how this incredible technology called the brain worked. And the greatest technology, which is the heart, and really open up those two centers to realize that I was the greatest technology. That I was looking outside of myself for so long that I literally destroyed myself. And I tried to destroy myself and I couldn't destroy myself. Like I said, I experienced many things. But going through that experience, when I was alone in that 6x9 cell, I looked at a dot on a brick wall. And let me give a little background before I go here, just really quickly, is I had many near-death experiences, and I accessed the oneness of the universe. I accessed higher consciousness. But because I was using drugs when I got out of that experience, I would always just excuse it, that it was some good drugs. So when I had this experience in isolation and incarceration, I was sober. I had no drugs. So when I had this incredible experience, when I was looking at a dot in the porous of the bricks, I went to the edges of the universe. I realized my oneness with the universe. I realized that I was everything, that it just blew me away. And then when I came back to my cell, it was like the most torturous experience, because I was like, oh my gosh, I want that. And I wanted that experience so much that I would force myself to try to go there. I would look at the dot and I would try to force myself. And the secret key that I realized was surrender is the magic, because I never surrendered. And when I surrendered in prison, that's how I, looked at the dot. I fell on my knees. I fell on my face because I had been beating the door. I had been hitting the walls. I was so bloody on my head and everything that I just got so exhausted that I fell on my face. And like I said, when I experienced that, I realized throughout time, not at that time because I didn't have a teacher at that time, which is so important to have a guide and a mentor, that this is why I love doing what we do today, because I know what it feels like to not have a mentor and try to go in all these different directions where you could literally lose yourself thinking that you're finding yourself with another. And this is why we're going to demystify higher consciousness today.
So this is where I come
So this is a beautiful segue.
Yeah, thank you. This is where I come in. If anybody has any comments or questions so far for Michael,
Yeah.
Just let us know, because I really can't see here. One thing is, Michael was in a prison cell in solitary confinement, not just a regular cell, for almost a year. So he was, how he explained his story, but deep down inside, he knew that he had a date of when he would come out of that prison. Eventually, that date would come. Now, my situation was totally different. And I was in a mental prison, in a very abusive state of mind, that now that I know what I know, I realize what I did and how I created that within myself. But the person that wasn't awakened, or that didn't even understand what it meant to meditate, was the person that was so locked up. And I believed and I knew, yes, physically I was abused, emotionally, verbally, and all that. But there was a prison that I only believed I could get out of that prison by death. There was no other way. But I was afraid of dying. So, I wasn't going to do anything to myself to get out of that prison in that fashion. However, I realized that prisons don't have to always be behind bars. And sometimes we hold the key. And that's where Michael came in as my teacher when I met him. When I heard for the first time that I had a choice, that I really could create my reality, that was so bizarre for me. And I come from a background of being in a Christian church for more than 35 years, Sunday school director, and I knew God and I had that relationship with God, but I still feared death. And I feared that I would go to hell, even though I felt that I was behaving the best that I could. So I was in a mental prison that meditation helped me unlock. And my biggest blessing was when I was diagnosed with cancer. And when that happened, I was told I had 3 to 6 months to live. It's like my whole life flashed before my eyes. And I thought, you know what? That's what the doctors can say, but I know different, because I had already learned, hey, if I create my reality, then I can create my wellness. And I said, what did the doctors know anyway? I could be hit by a car in a week and I'm not going to die of cancer. I'm going to die from being hit by a car. So it doesn't really matter. What matters is what you believe and where you start to love yourself. And so little by little, we merged our stories together and created Samadhi meditation school, because through meditation is how Michael helped me in the beginning. Chinese medicine, juicing for 41 days straight, pure green juices, and then meditation. All that together, I was told that the cancer was gone. And it was not an easy one. It was stage 3 pancreatic cancer. So prisons are whatever you make them, in your head, or in Michael's case, you really had to be in there.
And one thing that you said that I want to touch on, that was beautiful that you said that. Thank you. The choice. The choice is what we don't think we have a choice. A lot of us don't even realize how to think, because throughout our lifetime in this incarnation, we get told what to think. We become experts at what to think. We become experts at externalizing energy. And this is where my story comes in, because I studied higher consciousness. I even studied love. And because when she had the cancer, I didn't realize I loved her. I didn't want anything to do with love, but I wanted to serve and be love. But I didn't want love for myself, in the sense of thinking that I would marry someone, that I would be with someone. Because I thought I was meant to suffer, and I was here to enlighten the world, but yet I was meant to suffer. Let me just suffer, because my job, and there's a lot of spiritual people who are in this space that think that they're meant to suffer because they're meant to just, share love and compassion and kindness to others, but they don't ever give it to themselves. And that was me. So when we were studying together, all of a sudden I realized, from the cancer, because I thought I was going to lose her. And I was like, she doesn't deserve this. She deserves somebody who's going to treat her like this, treat her like that. And I said, wait, why not me? So then I clicked the light bulb and I said, you know what? Because she loved like nobody else I've ever met. And so my point is that when we talk about higher consciousness, and we're here to demystify meditation and demystify higher consciousness, because higher consciousness, all of us are using it. You to experience this life, this world right now, think about everything that comes together to make you you. Even you hearing this conversation, like hundreds of thousands of neurotransmitters are firing to give you an experience. Think about what comes together to make you. Think about, if you really, I invite you to touch your heart right now. How many times do you check in with your heart? How many times do you check in with your breath? You have a collaborative force that is all in for you. Think about that for 1 second. Let me pause there. We want to collaborate. We want to unite. We want to connect with other people. But do we give that gift to ourselves? Do we open up to the greatest resources that we already have? And then we wonder why, we get sick and we go through all these things, because we're refusing our own collaboration. We're fighting against ourselves. So this higher consciousness is already flowing freely, powerfully, divinely through you and everything that we experience.
And I want to bring something. It is so simple.
Yes, it is.
So simple, but the brain can't believe it.
And trust me, I overcomplicated it, that I can prove to you that it's so that we can overcomplicate it.
So it's not easy. Otherwise, everybody would do it, and we'd say, okay, let's meditate, let's love ourselves. For me, the most challenging thing up until just recently is loving myself. And I would give love, and I would help people, and I would be, of service in the church and at my work, everywhere. Anybody that knew me knows that Alice is a person of service.
How many years?
Well, in the church 35, and my marriage 35, and in my whole life, ever since I was a little girl, it's what I had in my heart, to be of service. However, it does take dedication, and it's not going to happen from one day to the next. We're in a society where it's an instant fix. If I can't stretch it, if I can't take a pill for it, if I can't do something that's fast, then I don't want it. But meditation, people don't realize everybody meditates. So you get to choose what you're going to meditate on. Are you going to meditate on everything that brings you down, on the past that made you sick? Are you going to meditate on the future and have anxiety and not know what to do? Or will you meditate on the present moment? Will you meditate on the things that elevate your energy?
That truly matter.
And that genuineness, because it's not about positivity or negativity. It's about being genuine. It's about being your true essence, so that others don't feel, oh, do I have to be a certain way to do what Alice did? Do I have to be a certain way so that I can awaken into my greater self? No, just be yourself. Learn to love the flaws, because those are the things that bring you to your knees. When you're humbled, there's nothing more than a humble pie, right? But why do we want to go through that? Michael and I don't want people to cut corners. We're not here to clip your wings, but we do let you know that we're here as guides, so that all the torture and all the stuff that we went through, maybe yours will be a little bit more at ease, or you will have that tool to be able to face life as it comes.
Can I share on that? Because you touched on a beautiful point. And we didn't plan this because we thought we knew what we were going to talk about. But I love that when it's free flowing, this is a perfect example that everybody's story is their own journey of the head to the heart, which we can say hell to heaven, right? We are ascending through the confusion, the illusion of separation, the illusion of that somebody else has my point of power, somebody else has my truth, somebody else has my source of worthiness, all these different stories that we've created, right? So when you realize that, think about the invitation that you have the choice to create your reality and co-create with others. Now, when you realize that you have the choice, that you chose to destroy your life, is when you could truly recreate your life. And one thing that Ali was saying is that if you think about it, we're already always meditating. And like I was saying earlier, when we say, you know, why don't I love myself? We literally, I don't know how this sounds, I'm gonna do my best to articulate it, is we are lying to ourselves, because our very evidence of life, if we were in a court of law, it would be overwhelming of the evidence of why we are so loved and we love ourselves. See, if you didn't love yourself, you could not live. The true self, you, love yourself right here, right now. Now, we wanted to talk about stress and anxiety, so I wanted to share a little bit of code about that, a little divine code. Is stress and anxiety is when you're denying your gift, and number two is that you're confused about your true identity. Because stress is meant to shake you, as the uncomfortability brings in the source to provide that safety that you look outside, that trust that you look outside, that love that you look outside. That's what stress is, an indicator that you're out of alignment with yourself. You're not out of alignment with anything outside of you. Trying to fit outside of you is really truly coming out of alignment with trusting you, loving you. How much do we pour into others and we listen to their faults, we listen to their failures, we listen to their feedback, and we don't judge them, because we want to help them, we love them so much. But yet when it comes to time for us to see ourselves, we are our worst judges, our destructive executioners, and our worst jury. Because we are so quick, because this comes from the educational system, that we got so programmed to look at how many we got wrong instead of how few we got right. If we focus on how few we got right, which is really more than we got wrong, we've just been reverse engineered programmed, is when we focus on those little ones that we got right. Like you woke up today. If you focus on the gratitude of you waking up today, start there. If that's the only place that you could start, because you have all this overwhelming evidence that you cannot see the goodness in you, be grateful that you woke up today.
Okay.
So doctors have said that stress is the number one killer, and that stress is the culprit of all these things. Well, when we heard that, when we really became aware of that, I thought, interesting. So stress doesn't exist, really. It's a figment of our perspective and imagination, and we're the ones that create our stress. So if we are capable of creating our stress and making ourselves sick, then we are also equipped to make ourselves well. We can reverse that, but it takes a different kind
of. Can you repeat that?
Can I?
Yeah, can you repeat that? Because that right there is the game changer.
Well, think about it. We can believe that, oh, what did you do? Well, I've just been so stressed. I've had so much anxiety. But we create those with our thoughts. So if we have that liberty, we have that, actually it's told to us by doctors, oh, well, this happened because you're under stress. And they're like, oh, so what did I do? And blame ourselves and try and find, or someone else to blame. But if that's so true, then let's all clap and be happy because that means I have that control
Yes.
to affect my body to the point that I make myself sick. Just like Michael said, he tried to destroy his life. He wanted to die and he couldn't die. He'd come back because he had a purpose, right? So then how is it that we can't believe, how is it that we can't believe that we can cure ourselves?
Yes.
We can't say that out in the public, say we heal and we cure ourselves. We're not allowed to say that. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a nurse. I can't say that. But I can tell you what I did, and I'm still alive after 6 years when a doctor said you have 3 to 6 months to live. Hello. So let's celebrate that part that we can heal our bodies.
But one thing that I have shared that I love that has transformed my life is when we work with people, we say, don't believe anything that we're saying. See, here's the thing. We get so conditioned, and this is with love and respect that I say this, that we believe a doctor, we believe a pastor, we believe somebody that looks like in a position that we accept the truth, or a teacher, right? So here's my point. I call it a soul disclaimer. Question everything, but here's the drop in the bucket or the microphone drop, especially and including specifically yourself, because the self that you think is right is what's attracting and manifesting those that you think that are programming you. It's really you. And the more you let go of that belief, the more the world becomes like a mirror, because it's already a mirror. If you ask yourself, if I have a bad attitude today, what are you attracting? If you have a great attitude, like sincerely, then what do you attract? Because the mirror, just like on this Zoom call, as soon as I put my hand up, it's going to move. But if I try to put my hand up because I'm angry or I'm frustrated, my hand's not going to move. The change has to come from within, which we call transformation. So when we realize the soul disclaimer is don't believe anything that we're saying here. Don't believe a word. And I know it's going to sound crazy, but don't believe a word that we've said today. Don't believe a word anybody says. Feel what you're feeling. Your intelligence, not your intellect, is saying. And when you trust more your intelligence, your intellect will come online to trust your intuition, which will guide you and give you what you've asked for consciously instead of unconsciously.
So when I think about what you're saying, when people used to always say stress kills, right? I've heard that many times. I even heard my own grandmother say it. What they're talking about physiologically is you're going to increase this cortisol level, and your cortisol levels will have high blood pressure, high heart rate. And then if you constantly do that and you produce so much of this hormone, you'll have a heart attack. That's literally what that means, but we don't think about it in that aspect. But we also have the same opportunity to save lives. We know meditation and consciousness can save lives, and we have to be careful how we say that. But at the same time, look at your wife here. She's we're looking right at her. She's still here with us, right? So we believe in the story, because that also increases dopamine and serotonin and all those happy hormones that we need to keep us alive, right? So that's what happened in that respect. That leads me to tell the story about Tommy. I told Gillian about my friend Tommy, who was literally actually a foster brother of mine when I used to work at Yale New Haven Hospital, and I had this whole community of people, the directors, the nursing directors, the social workers, the psychologists, they all brought me into a roundtable meeting. So I'm thinking, okay, we're going to talk about Tommy dying, because that's what happens when you get to the roundtable meeting. So what they wanted to know from me is, why is this guy still alive? And I says, what do you mean? They said he has no T cells. He is the longest living AIDS person that we've ever seen at Yale New Haven Hospital. We want to know why. And I says, because he doesn't believe he's going to die. And it just kind of like you could hear a pin drop in the room, right? So when you go back and you look at it physiologically, I could have explained all the science why Tommy wasn't dead, but we didn't have enough time. But basically, we all on this Zoom know what happened, why Tommy was the longest living. He was happy, was never depressed. He would walk outside with no shoes on. He didn't buy into the concept of death. He bought into the concept of life. And that's literally what happened. And so a lot of people, the phase 2 cancer or phase 4, what's the difference? phase 4. If she believes she's going to die, she will. If she believes she's not going to die, stage 1 can die before stage 4. So it's literally physiologically what happens with our body. And what happens physiologically are these hormones that we live by. We can produce them every single moment, every single
Yep.
day. We all have the same opportunity to create disease cells. We have that same opportunity to create healthy cells.
Do people know that they're in this dark place? Do most people understand that there's a moment where it's like, for me, it was literally a flash like this. And then I felt everything changed. My world was expanded. I can't even explain it. I felt like I was talking to God. And he's funny. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean? Like, I just felt, I'm walking down the street with Holly, our dog, and I'm thinking, have I lost it? Am I going crazy? Are they going to ship me out and put me in, in the, you know, the ward of the mental hospital? And I was like, no, I'm awake now. I just felt like a different person. And those things that you talk about, the worry, the anxiety, I still get waves of those, but I realize that I'm not afraid of death. And when you're not afraid of death, because you have such faith in living beyond this body, because our energy just transmutes into something else, then you're not afraid of anybody. They could be coming for you. They could be planning your demise. They could be taking everything you own. Doesn't matter.
Did I know I was in darkness? I could feel it, and I knew that something was wrong, to the point that I went to my medical doctor in Mexico and I asked him for a note. Sound like I'm in junior high, but I asked for a note and said, could you please give me a note that I can share with my family and tell them that I need to be put away for like at least 3 months in some kind of I don't know, a camp for people with mental issues or something. He goes, Alice, why? And I go, I just can't anymore. I cannot take this stress. I cannot take what's going on. I need to get away, and I can't. I do not have a legitimate justification to ask for time for me. And he says, Alice, you don't want to go to one of those places. No, I'm not going to write you a note. So I knew that I was in the dark. I knew that there was something. Ever since I was a little girl, I could feel something inside of me. And then with the abuse, it just piled on. When I became awakened, if we use that word, when I became aware that I am more than just this body and that I have a choice, I'm going to tell you, so funny the way you said the world looks so different. All of a sudden, the sky was bluer, the trees were greener, and I'm sitting in my car in front of a wall, a rock wall, and I could see it literally like the rocks came out of where they were. And I was like, oh, am I going crazy, or what in the world is happening? And this is how deep it was, that I was supposed to go. I was in front of my office. I was supposed to go upstairs, do some work. I said, no, I'm not even going to go to my office. I need to go home and I want to take a shower. I need to wash everything off. I need to see myself. And then I took a picture and I didn't know what to do. And by then I was already Michael's student. I said, you know what? I'm going to send him the picture. I'm going to say, can you tell me if I look different? Because I can't recognize myself in the mirror. I can't even see. Like, I was freaking out, really, in a way, not to scare anybody, but it was a little weird for me because I never experienced that. And of course, Michael's, is kind and everything. He was always, well, that, congratulations, and that's a great thing. And I'm like, really? I said, but you don't see me different? Because I took the picture just to see it. And for years, Michael used that picture every time the phone rings. That's the picture that show up. But anyway, that's another story. So yes, for me, I did know I was in a dark place, but not a lot of people realize that. They don't know to call it. So yeah, so go ahead, Michael.
My story was different. And let me be very super clear before I share it, because it could be confusing. But it reminds me of a book that I read, Think and Grow Rich. And it says that when somebody uses drugs, they'll abhor it in the beginning, or any kind of violence. Like anybody who's around like an abusive or violent kind of relationship, they don't start knowing that they're in the darkness. It gradually becomes like this. Your intelligence it's the same as when you meet somebody for the first time. If you're really sensitive to yourself, you already know where you're going to end up years from now because there's no time or space for the consciousness. If you're tuned to your energy, that part of you will tell you this is a contraction, this is a pressure. It doesn't speak with words. You're really sensitive to the energy because everything is energy. So when you feel that, that's your intelligence when you're tuned in, that it's going to make that decision for you. Well, it's not going to make the decision, but it's going to guide you to the decision. And so the reason why I share this is when we are around a situation that we feel that contraction, that this means this is like a no for me. This is like, honoring my boundary, so to speak. But if I betray that boundary, it's not the thing that punishes me. It's my own denial to honor my guidance, my intelligence, just like a parent, right? So the reason why I share this is when I got into the life that I got into, I looked at this like my family. So I really wasn't checking in on how I felt. I was more invested on being loyal to a group of children because I was like 11 that I wanted as my family because my mom wasn't present. She was always at church. We were always at home alone. And she was doing it because she wanted us to be saved and all that. And for parents, this is what I helped her with. So I just want to share a little nugget here is that I told her, you honoring your children is honoring God, but you honoring a building and an organization, putting your children to the side, you're actually doing a disservice to God because God gave you that child to bring as a child of God. So anyways, so going into my life story was when I got into the darkness, I was addicted to it. I didn't feel pain because I welcomed pain. My mantra was no pain, no gain because I wanted to be tough. So I could tell you could literally program your body to not feel any pain. I got stabbed over 20 times all over my body, didn't feel a thing, handed a guy the knife back and told him to finish the job. He thought I was crazy. That's a whole another story. But my point is that your consciousness is so powerful that it's not telling you like what to live. It's giving you the freedom to live however you choose to live. But your higher consciousness, if you made a choice before this incarnation, it's going to guide you and direct you to be on that choice, whether it's this or next or whatever.
Michael, final words from you.
So one thing I do want to say that's been so transforming for not only us, but everyone that we work with is I would invite all of you to go from the learning concept to remembering. Start saying that you remember. Whenever you think that you found something, or even you read a book, you wrote that book to yourself. You're always guiding you. So when you say that you're remembering, you go from the logic to the creative, intuitional, intelligent side, because you already have everything inside of you. You are that. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. Remember who you are.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks again. Thank you for everybody's contribution tonight. Thank you.